We are the members of White Raven Investigations and Paranormal Society, otherwise known as RIPS. Welcome to the main branch of the Cape May County Library System, located here on Mechanic Street in the town of Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey. With the gracious support and assistance of the Cape May County Library staff, RIPS has conducted several paranormal investigations at the main branch, with already more in the planning stage. Most of the claims of paranormal activity come from the library staff and others who work in the building. These claims include seeing figures that catch the eye then disappear, objects that go missing and are later found in odd places, books that are found on the floor when opening the library in the morning, in spite of the aisles being checked the night before, and the feeling of being touched when nobody is near. Many other experiences occur when the library is closed, including the sound of whistling, singing, and doors opening. The Cape May County Office of Emergency Management formerly occupied a large portion of the basement. OEM staff reported hearing the opening of doors, music, and footsteps during the overnight shifts while the building was secure. Those who've attended our previous presentations or watched the library investigation videos on YouTube have seen and heard the evidence of possible paranormal activity we have captured in the past. During tonight's presentation, you will see and hear further evidence we've captured during the summer of 2018.
For each investigation, White Raven has a standard set of procedures that we like to follow.
What we do is we go in, we deploy the gear in strategic locations. This, of course, is after we've heard what the claims of paranormal activity may be. We'll go in, we'll set up the gear, test it, make sure everything's running. And once we do that, we settle down for a few minutes. And then we begin. And we begin by?
We state our own personal guidelines of what we prefer to happen to us, whether we want to be touched, not be touched. And we have our own rules as a group that we also state out loud before we begin.
Yeah, one of the most important things that we do is we tell them they're not allowed to follow us home. But other than that, after we get our ground rules done, we go into the investigation.
We use audio and video recorders to attempt to capture voices. Some are disembodied voices, some are EVPs. EVP stands for Electronic Voice Phenomenon. The difference between a disembodied voice and an EVP is you can hear a disembodied voice while you were there. You hear it live, you hear it with your own ears. An EVP is something that we don't hear at the time, but we do hear later during review.
During the first round of investigations, we decided to try a little something different. And we asked the spirits if they could remember a code word for us. If you've seen our previous videos or been to other presentations, you know it's no secret that word is rosebud. And it seems that just about every time that we do an investigation there, we get that word spoken back to us. Right from the get-go, after we do our startup and we begin asking EVP questions, I like to ask the spirits that are there if anybody can tell me the code word. And, well, you will be able to hear barely the response, Rosebud, when I asked it.
Can you tell me what our code word is?
Knock to the right by the tables over there.
Okay, John just heard a knock. Was that you? Can you tell me what our code word is?
Knock to the right by the tables over there.
Okay, John just heard a knock. Was that you? Things do go bump in the night, and most noises heard during an investigation have simple and very likely causes. Houses do settle, furniture does creak, and air and water pipes do cause bangs. Having someone familiar with the building being investigated is invaluable, as that person is able to help distinguish a normal noise from one that may be paranormal. Sounds that have no identifiable source may be what are referred to as phantom sounds. Some such noises are heard as they happen, and some are only found while reviewing the recordings. These sounds were captured on the main floor. The recorder was on the checkout desk, and all the investigators were on the second floor at the time. The first two were captured on our 8th investigation, about 45 minutes apart, and the third was captured during the 9th investigation. Again, there was nobody on the first floor when these sounds were captured. This growl was captured on the second floor on the east side. None of us heard it at the time. Due to security reasons and the fact that it was staffed 24 hours a day, the former headquarters of the Cape May County Office of Emergency Management was off limits to investigating until it was abandoned when OEM moved to a new building. Once entering what was once the OEM Director's office, Kara tells Margot and I about a very recent and unexplained incident. Fortunately, during our latest investigation, we were able to capture a very similar event. What are the claims in here, Kara? What are the claims in here?
4 of us heard a double knock when we walked in here, like a week ago.
That sounded like it was coming from this door here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It sounded wooden, but it could have been anywhere. Was that you?
Over there, that door pushes against.
Somebody just knocked
on the desk.
I didn't knock. I thought it came from you.
No.
Okay, there's our knock.
Yes, and it would sound like it was right there on the desk.
Was that you? Was that you?
Sometimes during investigations, we find problems in the library that aren't actually paranormal. In a couple of our investigations, we heard a noise, and you'll see us reacting to it. What we found out later is that, just listening to the sound prints, it was happening at 10-minute intervals, so every 10 minutes. And we later debunked that it was a malfunctioning hand dryer that was just turning on for a brief moment and then turning back off on its own.
Aside from doing what we love to do, there are other advantages to the ongoing library investigations. We get to spend time with the awesome staff, discover the many and varied programs that are offered, and you never know what you're going to find on the next shelf. It certainly makes for a fun and relaxed investigation. Okay. I've seen movies that started like this. They weren't good. I don't recommend them. Our 9th investigation happened to coincide with the library's rock theme. We spent some time asking any spirits that may be present what type of music they enjoy. Betty Goodman.
You?
Okay, somebody in the right-hand corner just answered that. Betty Goodman.
You?
Okay, somebody in the right-hand corner just answered that.
Big band? John Glenn?
Well, John Glenn was an astronaut, but he probably liked that.
What am I thinking of?
Glenn Miller?
Glenn Miller. That's who I'm thinking of.
T-Rex. In this next video clip, what you'll be looking for is a shadow moving across the west wall. We were up on the second floor on the west side. Everyone was sitting down. We were conducting EVP and listening as carefully as we could. The only person that was between the IR lights and the wall was Kelly. What you will see is a shadow. It'll move from the front of the building and it'll go all the way down the wall. Toward the end of the clip, you will see where the shadow catches Kelly's eye and she turns toward it. We left the sound unmuted for this clip so you can hear nobody moving around. And you'll obviously be able to see that nobody walked in between the infrared light and where the shadow itself is. What this is open for interpretation because we're not certain what it is. The first investigation that RIPS did together as a group was at the site of an airplane crash. Allegheny Commuter Flight 977 crashed on December 12, 1976 from Pomona to the Cape May County Airport. In heavy fog, wind shear, turbulence, the plane went down well short of the runway. The biggest tragedy of this is 4 people lost their lives. The other 6 people on board, their lives were changed forever. Before we went out, we began doing research, but we certainly didn't have the full story before we went out to do this investigation. We went out 38 years to the minute of that crash and did an investigation on scene. If you can imagine, it was 11:24 at night on December 12th. It was quite cold, it was wet, it was windy, we're in the middle of a swamp, we're surrounded by coyotes, and, well, like I said, that was our first paranormal investigation. We did get activity, we caught voices. Most alarmingly is the feelings of dread that came over just about all of us, Kelly especially. We'll show you a couple of clips here of what it looked like out there that night. The last clip of this will be something that John Mateo and I saw with our own eyes and was captured barely on a mini DV tape. So take a look. Other than the weather, this was a milk run for you. What happened 38 years ago tonight that was different? Captain Schaefer, you never saw the trees, did you?
You heard something? You had a voice? Yeah. Me too. I heard it.
What did you hear?
It was like... Yeah, it's garbled. Do you understand now that it wasn't your fault?
Back down to point 4.
There's no reason for it to be pointing anything. There's no electric out here.
0.5 again.
Captain Schaefer, are you here? Did you want to back out?
I don't like it.
Did you want to back out?
I don't know.
Up to you. If it helps, I'm cold.
If you're ready, I got like a really, really weird friggin' vibe here.
Okay.
It's not normal vibes.
Many people were out here that night to help out. I saw something go right there. Something white.
We're going to show you a series of still images taken from that video of the mist that John Mateo and I saw that night. We'll go frame by frame on this. It's just a handful of frames because it's such a short clip. But what you'll see is a little bit interesting and a little bit disturbing.
Here are the 5 frames of footage surrounding the event. The mini DV camcorder I was using that night shoots 30 frames per second. This whole event took 1/6 of a second. I enhanced the frame with the anomaly using a high contrast filter. It'll bring out a little bit more detail in the mist. Take a close look. Tell me, what do you see?
Now, how all this ties in with the library? Before we left that investigation that night out there in the swamp, I felt as if I could not leave Captain Schaefer out there by himself. Figured he'd been out there long enough. It was time for him to move on. Against our rules, I went back into the crash site. I said, Captain, if you want to leave this site, you can leave with me. I don't regret that decision, but ever since then, I have always felt that the captain has been around me. On many, many, many paranormal investigations that we've had since, at some point during the investigation, I will ask if the captain's with me. Quite often, I get a response.
You couldn't land a baiter like you were supposed to. You wound up going to Pomona. You knew the baiter was socked in. You couldn't land a baiter like you were supposed to. You wound up going to Pomona. You knew the baiter was socked in. You couldn't land a baiter like you were supposed to. You wound up going to Pomona. You knew the baiter was socked in.
During one of the earlier investigations, Kara and I were up on the second floor. We were on the west side of the building. We both saw at the same time what we thought was a face in the far corner. I happened to have the mini DV camera pointed right at it. Unfortunately, the face did not show up on video. Take a look at that.
Sorry, that was me. I think I just saw a face right by,
In the corner?
sort of near the corner, yeah. Like
Yeah, I did too.
on the other side of that teen fiction sign. Oh,
Yep. I got my camera right on it too.
Okay.
I saw it looked a little bit past that stack toward the corner.
And it's not where I thought. Maybe it came forward.
But What I saw was dark.
What I saw was light.
After seeing that face in the corner, I began to wonder if an old friend had come to visit. What I did was I came up with a question that I knew Kara did not have the answer to. She and I were the only ones in that area at the time. And I asked, I said, Captain, if that's you, tell me your flight number. Again, to remind you, it was Allegheny 977. Take a listen to this recording. It's barely audible, but it's definitely there.
Tell me your flight number so I know it's you.
Oh my God.
Tell me your flight number so I know it's you.
Oh my God.
Tell me your flight number so I know it's you.
Oh my God.
On a later investigation, I again was up on the second floor on the west side, and I recalled seeing that face in the corner. I wanted to explore it a little bit further, so I got up, I walked over, I stated that I was going to approach, I asked whatever was there not to be afraid, and as I got closer, I began getting the feeling again that I was among friends. So I asked, do I know you? I wound up sitting down in a chair there and began trying to have a conversation with the captain. I felt a very deep cold on the left side of my arm and my shoulder and my hand. Felt a tingling sensation in the back of my hand. Some paranormal people believe that that is an indication of being touched. I'm not convinced one way or the other, but there was definitely something very cold on this side and not on this side. I asked Kelly to bring over the thermoscope, which she did. I wound up holding the thermoscope, and I said, Captain, if you're here, show me. Turn the thermoscope blue, which to turn it blue means you have to cool the air. I asked him, turn it blue, and you'll see.
Do I know you? I know you, don't I? I'm just moving a little closer. I'm going to sit right here for a minute. Touch my hand, please. Touch my hand. Can you see anything, Kelly? It's cold around my hand.
I feel it.
Can you come right to my right elbow? It's red again. Turn off, turn on again.
Right elbow.
Yeah. Can you feel the cold or no?
I felt it over here.
Can you still feel it on here?
I don't feel it like it was.
There's definitely a cold spot around here.
I don't feel it here, though. Tell me I'm right. I know who you are. And you know who I am. Am I right? You know what I'm thinking, right?
Mm-hmm. How about those numbers again?
Show me, Captain. Make this turn blue. Oh my God.
You got it on video.
Thank you, Captain. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn it back on again. That whole bit lasted about 15 minutes. When I was feeling the cold, when I was feeling the tingling, and when we're getting a thermoscope to react. We just wanted to show you one of the highlights. What this does indicate to us is that maybe spirits can follow you, especially if they're invited. Long and short of it is, if Captain Schaefer wants to stick with me, he's more than welcome. But I do hope that one day he goes home. That would be my wish. Rips is in the beginning stages of putting together a documentary about the crash of Allegheny 977. This is one of those events that has started to slip and fade from people's memories due to time. And we need to do something about that. We believe that we owe it to the crew and to the passengers of that flight and their families to always remember them. This was a terrible tragedy. Again, it's still the worst aviation disaster in this county's history. 4 people lost their lives. Those that survived, their lives were changed forever, many suffering lifelong injuries. The families of all those on board, their lives were changed as well. And we can never let Allegheny 977 fall from our memories. If there's anybody out there that has information regarding this flight, Allegheny commuter, any of the crew, any of the passengers who are on board, please contact us so we can include it in this documentary. We want to tell their story, and I believe that's why I felt such a strong pull to do that investigation to begin with. So I want to get the story told. Here are a few of the EVPs and disembodied voices we were able to capture during this round of investigations. The volume of the portions of the recordings that contain the voices have, in some instances, been boosted for this presentation, so they are more easily heard. Sir, would you please be so kind as to speak up? Sir, would you please be so kind as to speak up? Sir, would you please be so kind as to speak up? Is that you? Is that you? Is that you?
You are not allowed to come home with me. You are not allowed to come home with me. You are not allowed to come home with me.
During the 10th investigation, while we were in the reference section on the second floor, this disembodied voice was captured. First, you will hear how it sounds on the audio recorder that was along the west wall. Then you will see my reaction as I held the mini DV camera. It is interesting that the stationary recorder caught the voice fairly clearly, but the camcorder did not, possibly because the voice sounded as if it were behind me.
Just hear a voice, Robert? Over here? Just hear a voice, Robert? Over here? Just hear a voice, Robert? Over here?
This very deep and frankly uncomfortable growling was captured in the story time room. All of us were 2 floors up in the reference section at the time, and none of us heard this. We're not sure if this is an angry growl or possibly a distorted voice. Take a listen and decide for yourself. The following EVP is very interesting. You will hear John, Mateo, and Margot talking a few feet away from the recorder. If you listen carefully, you will hear a whispered voice while John is speaking. We are unable to make out what the voice is saying, but is followed by a different voice that says, "You're dead to me." These voices sound as if they originate between the recorder and John. They also sound as if they are completely unaware of John and Margot's presence.
Everyone's asleep. I go out into the kitchen to get something to drink, and I hear my name be whispered, like a loud whisper, like someone trying to get your attention. Everyone's asleep. I go out into the kitchen to get something to drink, and I hear my name be whispered, like a loud whisper, like someone trying to get your attention. Everyone's asleep. I go out into the kitchen to get something to drink, and I hear my name be whispered, like a loud whisper, like someone trying to get your attention.
During investigations, John and I are always trying to come up with new experiments. We decided we were going to try some pre-recorded EVP questions at the library on a cassette recorder just like this one.
What we did was we recorded about a half an hour to 40 minutes worth of questions, giving it about a 25 to 30 second delay in between, hoping it would elicit a response from whatever may be there. The idea being it thinks that we're one of them rather than real people walking around.
We have not been dissatisfied with the results that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, on the first night we had it set up across the room on the second floor while we ignored it, sat there playing board games and cards. We got some results out of it. After that, what we did was each time we placed it down in the children's storytime room, set it up down there, and got some very interesting results, which you will see.
How long do you think we'll be here? How long do you think we'll be here? How long do you think we'll be here?
Can you pet that dog? Can you pet that dog? Can you pet that dog?
Who are those people upstairs? Who are those people upstairs? Who are those people upstairs?
During the ninth investigation, we continued with the cassette experiment. We had the cassette player set up just outside the children's storytime room, which is the room that this presentation is being given in now, and we captured this rather disturbing response to one of the questions. Take a listen.
Can you help me find God? Can you help me find God? Can you help me find God?
After reviewing all the recordings and evidence from our last investigation, I began production of this video presentation. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to back up the files, and true to Newton's law, my computer crashed after a Windows update, taking all the data with it. I contacted the Cape County Library's Technology Learning Center, and Kyle came to the rescue. He was able to remove the computer's hard drive, retrieve all of the data, and reinstall the operating system. Kyle and the TLC staff were able to save all of the data from our last investigation, as well as this presentation video, which was nearly 2/3 complete at the time of the crash. The TLC literally saved over 30 hours of work, which would have been lost. RIPS is extremely grateful to the entire TLC staff.
We've now completed our third round of investigations at the Cape County Library. While it wasn't as active as our first two rounds that we've done, we were still pretty pleased with the results that we got. We were able to capture many voices, many of which we just simply didn't have time to put into this video. We also got many other sounds and a few other things that made us pretty happy.
The pre-recorded cassette tape experiment that we tried was met with mixed results. We were pretty happy with the EVPs we did get, though.
Mm-hmm. The fact that we were able to get a proper response to our Rosebud experiment, where I would ask, can you remember our code word? We consistently did get the answer Rosebud, which we were very pleased about. And what that could indicate is that an intelligent spirit has taken up residence in the library. We were also very interested in the fact that we got several new voices and different voices, some that seemed to answer us intelligently and some that just seemed to be random. These spirits maybe are transient, they come and go, but we have at least one that we believe is staying.
We were also pretty excited to be able to investigate the emergency management portion of the library, which we previously could not get into. They have since moved out of the building, and we were able to get in there for the first time, and we did find a couple of things that were pretty interesting in that part of the building.
So, what were your highlights?
I think my favorite part, it was I guess it would have been the 9th investigation. Sitting in a chair by the stacks, and something caught my eye, looked almost like a light, and it went towards where John had a camera set up. And after playing back the video, we did not see anything on the video. However, both cameras autofocused at the same time.
Yeah, for those cameras to autofocus, what that means is that it sends out a little radar beam to adjust the focus. If something passes in between what it's already focused on, if something breaks that beam, it'll autofocus to try to catch whatever is closer. The fact that both cameras autofocused at the same time did indicate that something did pass by. We went through those two video cameras frame by frame. Unfortunately, nothing showed up on the video, but the fact that they autofocused at the same time leaves us wondering what possibly could have happened.
It was a little disappointing not being able to capture something on film, though.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you? Did you have any highlights?
I did. First of all, we always enjoy working with the staff. Getting to investigate where I used to work in, the former OEM office, it felt pretty good. And of course, I did have a personal experience relating to a previous investigation we did some time ago that's It's been with me for quite a while. All in all, though, I think that each investigation on its own had its own highlights.
Absolutely. And we're never disappointed
No,
investigating the library.
never. Did you find anything to be evil, bad,
No.
worrisome?
Personally, nothing was scary. I didn't feel threatened. No one on our team felt threatened at any point.
Yeah, the only thing that did concern me was when we had the cassette running in the children's story time room. When I asked, how can I get to God? We got that very deep voice saying you're lying. That was a little disconcerting. But again, it's open for interpretation. We don't know what it was trying to say to us. We don't know what it meant. So we can't say that it's evil, but we're not quite sure what to make of it yet. So we'd like to thank the library staff from top to bottom for helping us out with all that they did, opening everything up for us and welcoming us in. And we learned so much about the library system, and we're better for it.
Absolutely. Very thankful.
Yeah. And again, we'd especially like to thank the Technology Learning Center. Great bunch of folks working there. They really, really saved our bacon as far as this video goes. As I explained earlier, we could have lost everything from this past series of investigations, but they stepped in and they really saved the day. So we're very grateful to them. And if you'd like to keep up with us, we're on Facebook, Instagram. You can go to whiteravenparanormal.com. We have other information on there. And, of course, on YouTube, where we post our videos. So right now, we'd like to say thank you for watching, and we appreciate it.